What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative and my weekly reading wrap-up. That is everything I read, what I'm still reading, and what I plan to read next. As far as what I read, I finished Cant Hurt Me by David Goggins. This story is about David Goggins, how he overcame a truly terrible childhood. He went from an overweight, depressed teenager into what Outside Magazine later calls the fittest real man in America. He did it all. He completed 2 Hell Weeks in Navy SEAL training, BUDS. He actually went through BUDS training 3 times before he was able to make it through to become a Navy SEAL. Not only that, he later completed elite training in the Navy SEALs, then later Army Ranger, and then later air traffic control. On top of all that, all of the training and physical fitness he endured just for those, he also became an ultra marathoner. If that still wasn't enough, he also broke the Guinness World Record of number of pull-ups in, I believe, 24 hours. It is a truly, truly inspiring story. I got so much drive and ambition, just lit a fire under my tail. In fact, I think I'm going to do what my husband does. Chris, anytime he goes on a hard training run or he just needs a refresher, he'll just put on a chapter of this book. And I think I'm going to do like him and just kind of keep this in a constant reread because it is just wonderful. Absolutely loved it. I also finished 3 Miles Past, which is a collection of 3 novellas by Stephen Graham Jones. If you were to ask me if this is a good place to start with Stephen Graham Jones, I would say no. There's only one story that I really, really loved in here. The other 2, it's not that they're not written well, they are. It's just that I did not... Something made me very uncomfortable about the first story. There's an element that he chose to illustrate something that was happening that I just did not like, and it's just something that doesn't sit well with me no matter what story or who the author is. Anytime you have anything to do with dogs that is just not best friends, them living their best life, I am just going to be very uncomfortable. And the prolonged use of what he did with the dogs in the first story, I did not like it. The second story was fantastic. It was creepy, it was scary, it was right up my alley. And the last one was just really odd. It really just kind of started crossing over into the weird horror aspect, and I'm just not a fan of weird horror. I didn't care for it. I know I encourage y'all, if you're trying a new author, start with some of their shorter stuff, short stories or novellas. This is not the one. If you're interested in reading Stephen Graham Jones, hit me up in those comments down below and I will give you plenty of good places to start. The other book that I finished is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. This is the Wine and Crime Book Club pick of the month for April, and I flew through it. I couldn't put it down. It's very addicting. It has short chapters where Simone St. James just knows how to keep you turning those pages. She utilized a 2-person point of view technique where she switched back and forth between the 2 characters, but we also changed places in time. We went from 2017, which was current present day, back to 1977, in which the murders occurred that our present day crime blogger Shay is investigating. The person who was acquitted of those murders in 1977 is Beth Greer, who has randomly, after 40 years, agreed to give Shay an interview. Oh my goodness, guys. I felt like when I was reading it that I was being easily given the direction in which to go as far as what happened. That is not the case. Now, I am the world's worst. I never ever figure out the whodunits. I never solved the mystery. Well, there was one that I did, but I really think that was a fluke. But I love this book. It is a paranormal thriller. Now, there were a couple of eye-rolling moments towards the end where she kind of let it get away from her a little bit, and she did some things that were just kind of like, oh, come on, you were doing so well with it. Why did you stick that in there? But overall, I really enjoyed this book. I have put The Sundown Motel on my TBR for May. I really hope I'm able to get to it because the consensus is from everyone who has already completed this book, they still liked The Sundown Motel better. So I'm excited. What I can tell you is Simone St. James is going to be an auto-buy author for me in the future. I really clicked with her writing style. Such a fun read. We had so much fun talking about it in Discord as people have been reading through it. There's some other people who haven't started yet that I cannot wait for them to start so we can chat and just see what they think. And then the live show is going to be the last Saturday of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you've read the book or you have read it by then, I would love for you to come by and join us. So that will take care of what I have finished this week. What am I still working on? I have been listening to the third book in the Green Rider series, High King's Tomb by Kristen Britton. Now, if you'll remember, I loved The Green Rider, the first book. I did not like the second book, First Rider's Call. I just did not like it at all. But I wanted to continue with the series. I wanted to give it one more book to see if the author got back to that original style of just action and intrigue. I blazed through half of that book in a couple of days and I am really, really enjoying myself. I'm happy to see that a few characters from the first book have come back in this one, which I think is part of the problem with the second book. There are so many characters we met in the first book that weren't in the second, including the horse. I did not see enough of Condor in the second book. And I think that that's maybe why that one suffered a bit. The really interesting characters, the really interesting villains were not in book 2. We got another one that was just, he wasn't good. And I know that one's going to be back, and I hope Kristen Britton does a better job when that one shows back up. But as far as High King's Tomb, I am enjoying the story. I am also still working on The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I am 60% in, and I truly hope that I can sit down tonight, sometime, and read the other 40%. Because this morning when I got up, I was reading in it. I got to a really, really great part. It was the hardest thing to do, to put my Kindle down and walk away from that book so that I could get started on my day. Oh, it's that good. It is that good. Gwynne added a couple of POVs in this one. I like how he did that. I like how in the first book we had 3, and in this one we have 5. He added 2 from the first book. I like that. I like that we started with 3 and then incorporated a couple more, just a slow progression. Because with The Faithful and the Fallen, the first book, the first 300 pages is just hundreds of characters that are so similar. It was very, very difficult to keep track of who was who, where were they from, and what they were about. He has gotten his style nailed down. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love this series. I did not know that I was going to have room in my heart for another series from him that was not The Banished Lands, but my goodness, I have got to start trusting this man. John Gwynne knows what he's about. I just need to trust him and just read his books. It's really that simple. So that takes care of everything I read. The 2 books I'm currently reading. What am I going to read next? Well, it's time to continue my journey with The Button Box, Book 2 by Richard Chismar, Gwendy's Magic Feather. I cannot wait to see what is going to happen in this installment. The first one was middle of the road for me. There were some interesting things about it that I wanted more from, and I didn't get in the first one. I hope I get that explored more in Gwendy's Magic Feather. I am excited to find out. I haven't read the blurb, so I don't know what to expect, and I'm gonna leave it that way. I don't want to go in expecting anything. I just want to let the story unfold as it will. And then I will start my reread of Shauna Maguire's Middle Game. Oh my goodness. When I first read this book a couple of years ago, I didn't think I was going to like it. I thought that it was just going to be too clinically scientific for me to enjoy, but then she got me because the story is about a set of twins, Roger and Dodger. I am a sucker for stories about twins. I don't know why, but ever since I was a little girl, I have been absolutely fascinated with twins. In fact, when I wrote short stories as a kid, every single one of them was a story about twins. I'm excited to reread this because the next book in this series, Seasonal Fears, comes out at the beginning of May. I want to say May 3rd, and I want to make sure I am refreshed and up to date, so I am very excited to get into this one. So guys, that is going to take care of everything I have been into reading wise this week. What have you guys been reading? I have been reading some really great reads. I met a new author that I am in love with. You just can't be mad when you have a week like that. I am so glad you stopped by to hear about it. Let me know in the comments down below how your week went, and I will catch you in the next one.